CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts and Lisa Collin for supporting the channel and being amazing members. If you'd like to help me keep creating these stories, feel free to become a member. It really helps the channel grow. I'm planning to continue exploring more than just the dark web tales. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night with you and me together. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. It means the world to me and helps keep the horror alive. And tell me in the comments, what kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I was paid on a dark web government experiment to sit in a white room. Every hour, a speaker plays my mom's voice, saying a thing she never said to me. This might sound like one of those fake creepypasta stories you'd hear on YouTube at 3 a.m. while scrolling through your sleep playlist. But I swear on everything, this happened to me. If you're seeing this post, it means I finally found a place to tell it where they won't delete it. Reddit mods, please let this stay up. People need to know. So let me start this off by saying, I'm not some tinfoil hat wearing guy who believes every conspiracy video that pops up in the YouTube sidebar. I'm just a normal 21-year-old dude living in a one-bedroom apartment in Kansas City, Missouri. I work part-time at a UPS store, and I do DoorDash on the weekends to keep the lights on. I've never been to jail. I'm not on drugs. I'm not even a dark web guy. But I did something really, really stupid. And now, I don't know if I'm being watched or if I'm still part of whatever that was. It started in August. My laptop had been acting up lately. Super slow, random tabs opening. I figured I had malware from downloading a cracked version of Final Cut Pro. Yeah, I edit videos for a small horror YouTube channel. Nothing major. 200 subscribers, tops. So I went looking for a cleaner tool. That's when I found this thread on a forum I'd never heard of. It was called Void Talk. It looked like Reddit, but darker. Almost like an old 2006 webpage. Mostly anonymous posts. Lots of urban legends, conspiracy theories, missing persons threads that hadn't made the news. But one post stuck out. It was buried under a weird category called Experiential Studies, government/privately funded. The title was just $2,000 a day. Easy. No physical labor. You will sit. We will record. Apply. Here I clicked it because, duh, who wouldn't? The thread was only like 5 replies long, and most were just weird usernames like obscure 4911 and tethered underscores mirrors commenting stuff like it works or you really hear them. That should have been my first red flag. I clicked the link. It didn't even open in my browser. It downloaded a .txt file. It had coordinates, somewhere in Nevada, a set of instructions, and a form I had to fill out manually with pen and scan back. At this point, I was 80% sure it was a scam, but the part that got me, the payment structure, it wasn't fake looking. It was like professional, a real contract, and attached was a digital check, like the kind Uber or Lyft drivers get when you screenshot your balance. It showed $14,000 pending under my name, but it wasn't from a bank I recognized. It was labeled disbursement from GOV 42D/A. Memo, a URALSTUDY, site WR17, payment date August 22nd, 2025, recipient Jared M. B. Mind you, I never gave them my name, or my email, or anything. Now I was creeped out, but the money was real. My bank app pinged me 2 hours later with a deposit request from a weird institution called Echelon Intelligence R&D. They were offering to prepay me $2,000 up front. No questions asked. I needed the money. Rent was 2 weeks late. So yeah, I said screw it and booked a cheap one-way ticket to Reno. The facility, I was picked up by a blacked out SUV at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. No logos. Driver didn't talk. The road we took wasn't even on Google Maps. It was a straight line through endless desert. No signs, no phone signal, nothing. Eventually, we stopped at a massive, completely white dome-shaped structure. It looked like a futuristic greenhouse or something straight out of a Netflix show. I was brought inside. Everything smelled like chlorine and printer ink. A woman in a navy suit, no ID badge, handed me a pair of white clothes, just cotton pants and a long-sleeve shirt. No logos, no tags, not even sizes. She said, "You'll be in the room for 7 days. You'll be observed 24/7. The room contains food, water, a toilet, and a bed. Do not attempt to leave. Do not speak unless instructed. Every hour, you will hear a message. Sit still when you hear it." I asked what kind of message. She just blinked and said, "It will be familiar, but it is not real." At this point, I was super close to backing out. But again, $2,000 a day. That's college debt gone. That's car repairs. That's freedom. They took me through a series of hallways, all white, all fluorescent, like something out of Portal, but worse. Everything hummed. They finally led me to White Room 17. I stepped inside, and it was exactly what it sounded like. A completely white, windowless cube. No doors visible from the inside. A bed in the corner. A single speaker in the ceiling. A metal toilet. A shelf with 7 neatly stacked meal boxes labeled Day 1 through Day 7. That was it. The door behind me, sealed shut like a sci-fi airlock. Day 1. The first voice. I sat on the bed, half expecting someone to tell me it was all a prank. But no one came. I opened the Day 1 box. Just some crackers, peanut butter, protein shake, a bottle of water. Bland but edible. There was also a note inside. Maintain posture. Audio will play. Do not respond. Okay. I sat still, tried to meditate. An hour passed, and then it started. A soft click, then static, and then her voice. It was my mom. Not like a voice actor trying to sound like her. It was her exact voice, the little Midwestern twang, the way she pauses when she says sweetie. Every inflection. It was like she was in the room, but what she said made my skin crawl. Sweetie, I never wanted you. Your birth was a mistake. They paid me to keep you. I froze. That's not something my mom would ever say. My mom is the most loving, warm person ever. She cried at my high school graduation and still calls me every Sunday to check if I'm eating enough vegetables. But the voice kept going. Same tone, same gentleness, same terrifying content. I used to hold a pillow over your crib just to see if I could do it. Sometimes I still dream about it. The speaker clicked off. I didn't move for like 5 minutes. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. A part of me knew this was the experiment. This was what they were testing. And I still had 6 days left. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they used AI. Maybe they pulled audio from old phone calls or voicemails. Maybe it was deep fake tech, but how the hell did they get it so accurate? How did they know my mom's nickname for me? And most importantly, why the hell would anyone want to study this? That night, I barely slept. Every time I dozed off, I dreamt of her face, but warped, blurred like a bad memory, and she kept whispering things I couldn't understand. When the speaker clicked on again at 2 a.m., she said, "You shouldn't have come here. They'll never let you leave. I didn't want you to hear this." I curled into the corner and waited for sunrise, and I swear I could hear footsteps above the ceiling. Edit. For those asking, yes, I still have the food boxes, and I might have found something inside one of them that wasn't supposed to be there. I'll post about that in part 2. Edit 2. Also, someone messaged me about White Room 17 being part of a rumored MK Ultra continuation program. If you know anything, please reach out. I didn't know it yet, but by the end of day 2, I would seriously question whether I had ever actually left that white room. I don't mean like, am I dreaming, or was it a hallucination kind of questioning. I mean, the kind of mental fracturing where your memories peel apart like wet paper, where even your sense of time gets bent into something non-Euclidean and ugly, where things start walking around that shouldn't even know how to stand. Let me explain. The second message came 58 minutes after the first one. It was her voice again, my mom's. But there was a catch this time. The voice was stuttering, like someone learning to speak English phonetically. It still sounded like her, but the flow was off, like a puppet trying to recite a memory. She said, "Honey, do you remember the time I left you in the bathtub and you went under and I didn't come back until the bubbles stopped? That never happened, and what followed made my entire spine clench. You stopped moving. I just watched. Your arms twitched. You were pink, so pink, and I thought, what if I never pull him out? What would that feel like? That's not a memory. That's not a message. That's something else thinking out loud, using my mother's tongue." I started yelling into the ceiling, "Who's doing this?" But the walls don't echo in that room. The sound just dies. It's like yelling into flesh. It absorbs you. Hour 3. Click. Static. And then I hear my voice. Not hers. "Don't you miss the way she cried when you broke her cat's ribs? I've never hurt an animal in my life. Ever. But the voice is me. My exact voice. My accent. My breathing pattern. Everything." The sentence repeats. Same tone. Same rhythm. Like it's burned into the speaker's memory. "Don't you miss the way she cried when you broke her cat's ribs?" Over and over. For 5 minutes straight. I stopped eating after that. I couldn't trust the food. Couldn't trust the water. What if they were drugging me? What if the hallucinations weren't hallucinations? I tried to sleep, but the light never turns off. It's always glowing, blinding, white, buzzing like something alive and deep under the surface. But somewhere between messages 4 and 5, around what I guessed was 3 a.m., the light did turn off. No warning, just total, void black silence. I thought it was a system failure until I heard it. Not from the speaker, from the vent in the ceiling. Something was crawling, not walking, not breathing, crawling. The scrape of fingers on metal, nails catching on the slits in the vent. And then it spoke, not with words. It tried to imitate words. It tried to sound like my dad this time, except my dad died in 2017. He had ALS, couldn't speak at the end. But this voice, it sounded like him if he never got sick. Perfect, polished, too perfect. Let me in, champ. Let me in. Let me see how tall you've gotten. The sound of breath behind the vent, like it was pressing its mouth against the grill and whispering straight into the air, trying to taste me through it. I backed into the farthest corner of the room, didn't move for hours. Eventually, the light came back on like nothing happened, and when it did, the bed had moved. It wasn't in the corner anymore. It was centered in the room, and the blanket, this part still makes me sick, was wet. Not blood, not water, something thicker. It smelled like burnt hair and copper. Hour 7. New voice. Not family this time. A girl's voice. My ex. The one who went missing. I hadn't heard her voice in 2 years, but it wasn't a recording. This was live. She was breathing, terrified, whispering. I don't know where I am. I can't move. I can't blink. It's dark. Jared, if you can hear me, don't believe them. Don't listen to what they show you. They open you. While you're asleep, they take pieces. You don't feel it till later. Then it cut off. I screamed until my throat bled, punched the walls, ripped at the ceiling. I kicked the speaker until I cracked my foot against the frame. I spit blood on the food packets, tore my nails out trying to scratch my way through the corner where the vent clicked. Nothing. No one came. No guards. No voice. No explanation. Just the next hourly message. The reason you never find the camera is because it's inside you now. I vomited in the corner. By what felt like day 2, hour 20, I stopped keeping track of time. My face was swollen from crying. My teeth ached from grinding. I started hallucinating. Except they weren't hallucinations. I know because they left things behind. One of them, a silhouette of a man with no jaw, just a tongue hanging like rope, stood in the corner for nearly 3 hours. I refused to blink. Every time I did, he got closer. And then, finally, I blacked out. I woke up on the floor, nose bleeding, and the day 2 food packet was opened. The protein shake was gone, but I never drank it, and neither did I. Do you understand what I mean? There were 2 of me, at least for a while, and the other one, it liked the food. The worst part, there was a new item in the box this time, a note card, crumpled, written in handwriting I almost recognized, but not quite. Why did you say yes, Jared? Why did you say yes? You remember what they did to your cousin. You thought they wouldn't find you. I don't have a cousin. At least, not anymore. I started scratching at the walls with my teeth, trying to leave a mark. Something. Anything. But the walls aren't drywall. They're soft. Not like sponge. More like cartilage. It flexes when you breathe too hard. And if you press your ear against it, sometimes you hear breathing on the other side. Sometimes you hear it mimic your voice. One time I screamed, "Help me," and heard it echo back, "Help me, help me, help me, me," until the wall started laughing. I finally slept again. I don't know when. Maybe the 4th day, 5th. It all blends. When I woke up, there was a mirror on the floor. Wasn't there before. Just a rectangular mirror, no frame, and written in condensation, "You're the control subject. You always were. The rest are just noise." And underneath that, faintly scribbled, "There is no speaker." That's when I realized the voices weren't playing. They were speaking, live, through something behind the wall. Something that could see me and remember my life better than I could. The final thing that happened before I passed out again. I looked into the mirror, and my reflection, it didn't copy me. It smiled when I didn't. It lifted its hand when mine stayed still, and then it whispered, with my mom's voice, "You're ready now." And the lights shut off. Edit. For the people asking, yes, I still have scars on my palms. Something was sewn in and then removed. There's stitching, but I never saw anyone come in. Edit 2. Someone in my DMs mentioned Project Latchkey. I don't know what that is, but one of the messages in the room whispered that name while I was half asleep. If you know anything, post it here. They read messages before I do. The next time I opened my eyes, I was no longer sure they belonged to me. Every blink felt delayed, like something else was deciding when my eyelids should move. The mirror from before was gone, but there was a new object waiting. A little black cube, no bigger than a dice, sitting right where my chest had been when I woke up. On one side of it, tiny letters etched so faint you'd only see them if you tilted it against the light. Listen. I didn't press it. I didn't want to. But the cube didn't care. It started humming by itself. Low at first. Then the pitch climbed until it hit this mosquito-like whine that made my teeth ache. And under that noise, a whisper threaded itself in. You've been here before, Jared. We only reset the ones who notice. The walls shifted again that day, subtle at first, like air pressure changes in an airplane cabin. But after a while, they moved. I swear the corners breathed. Every few seconds, they'd pulse outward, and a faint heartbeat would echo from somewhere beneath the floor. When the heartbeat stopped, so did the gravity. For 3 seconds, I floated, not like in 0G, more like the room forgot which way down was. When I fell, I landed on something soft, not the floor. It felt like falling into a chest cavity, warm, damp. When I scrambled up, the bed was gone. I started pacing, counting steps, trying to keep my sanity. But no matter how many times I crossed the room, I'd always end up back at the same wall. Except the scratch marks I made earlier were missing. Instead, new ones appeared. Fresh grooves, deeper than fingernails could go, spelling words in jagged lines. We keep what you believe in. I pressed my palm against the letters, and the wall throbbed like it was reacting. A whisper slid through the seam. Stop touching yourself. My knees buckled. The wall laughed again, wet and childish. At some point, I think day 4, maybe 5, I realized the hourly messages weren't happening anymore. The speaker stayed silent. That should have been a relief. It wasn't, because the voices had moved inside the silence. I'd hear them in the gaps between my own breaths, tiny syllables that only existed when everything else stopped. If I tried to hold my breath to catch them, I'd faint. When I woke up, the cube would be closer. I started to remember things that never happened. A hallway painted red, a cafeteria full of people who all had my face, a clipboard that read Subject 17B, Response Satisfactory / Proceed to Merge, and a white-coated man saying, Memory overwrite successful. The last loop begins. The food boxes eventually ran out. That's when they gave me the meal that wasn't a meal. A small clear packet slid from the vent, like the room coughed it out. Inside, 1 white pill and a sticky note. To exit simulation, swallow. To remain, resist. I didn't trust it, but hunger makes you believe weird things. I held the pill on my tongue. It dissolved instantly, cold and minty. Then the entire room shifted to black, not lights off black, absence of existence black. And then I saw them, hundreds of white rooms, suspended like cubes in a void, each one containing someone else, each of them wearing my face. Some were screaming, some were praying, some were just sitting, smiling at nothing. And every cube had a speaker mounted above it. They all turned on at once, and every voice, every speaker, spoke in perfect unison. Subject 17. B achieved auditory empathy threshold. Begin merge. The cubes began sliding together, merging like droplets of milk colliding in water, until there was only one room left. Mine. When the light came back, everything was reversed. The walls were black now, the ceiling white, and where the door used to be, there was a faint silhouette, like a shadow drawn on glass. It looked exactly like me, but mirrored, grinning so hard its teeth reached its ears. It lifted a hand. I lifted mine, but then it waved before I did, and spoke with my mother's voice again. Now you see why she lied, sweetheart. There was never a mother. There was only the voice. The shadow stepped forward, and the wall peeled open like skin under heat. Behind it wasn't another room, just a hallway of screens. Every screen showed a live stream. People scrolling TikTok, ordering Starbucks, sitting in McDonald's booths, riding subways. All normal, all real. And in the reflection of every single phone screen, my face was there, watching, waiting, smiling. The voice whispered, 17 completed, 18 begins. Then the wall sealed shut again, leaving only the cube. The letters had changed. Speak. I don't remember pressing it, but now, whenever I close my eyes, I hear new words, recorded in my own voice, playing back through every silence in my apartment. Day 8. Subject re-established link. The white room persists beneath perception, and sometimes, when I'm walking down the street, the traffic lights flicker white for just a second, and I catch a glimpse of that mirrored version of me, standing still in the reflection of a Starbucks window, mouthing something I can't hear yet. When the cube said, speak, I thought it meant talk to it, but it didn't want my voice. It wanted the noise that happens when you're about to say something and don't. The tiny throat click, the static between breaths. Every time I almost spoke, the cube flashed white, and every flash left a mark on the walls. At first, faint outlines, then full words, scrawled like a child, writing with light instead of ink. I remember you. The letters faded when I blinked. When I looked back, new ones appeared in different spots. Sometimes they were backward, like they were being read from the other side of the wall. I tried counting the flashes, just to anchor myself. 36, then 37. At 42, the cube stopped responding. That's when I realized the hum in the floor had returned. Low, steady, mechanical, like a hard drive spinning beneath the concrete. Each vibration made my fingertips tingle. When I pressed my ear to the ground, I could hear words buried inside the sound. They weren't spoken. They were encoded in rhythm, binary syllables that translated into fragments of my own search history. My old tweets, even the voicemail I left my mom on my birthday last year. The room wasn't just listening, it was downloading me. Hours or maybe days passed that way. The walls pulsed with data. The ceiling dripped condensation that smelled like ozone and old electronics. Every drop that hit the floor burst into tiny circles of light before fading. When I stepped on one of the circles, an image flashed in my head. A classroom, sunlight, a little boy raising his hand. My hand. But the teacher's face was pixelated. like someone blurred it on purpose. The next drop showed my apartment kitchen. The next, the Reno airport. The next, a white-coated technician bending over something that looked a lot like me on a table. I started to understand. The experiment hadn't stopped. The room was just reconstructing itself around the parts of me it still owned. That night, if it was night, the cube changed color. It glowed a dull orange, pulsing in time with a hum. Every pulse made the air vibrate. Then, from the speaker, merge rate at 89%, retain subject consciousness until confirmation. The voice wasn't my mother's this time. It was flat, genderless, corporate, like a GPS reading coordinates. And behind it, faintly, another whisper twined through the mechanical monotone. Jared, you can't keep being both. I pressed my palms over my ears. Didn't matter. The sound came from inside the pressure of my skull, not outside it. When the light cut out again, the darkness didn't come all at once. It started from the corners, creeping inward like ink in water. By the time it reached my feet, I could feel it, cool and thick, moving over skin like oil. The floor melted away, revealing a void below, but the void wasn't empty. Rows of white shapes hung suspended, each one twitching with tiny electronic tremors. They were people, or they had been. Every one of them had a cable running from the base of their skull down into the black. Every cable ended at another cube, pulsing like mine. One of the shapes lifted its head. No eyes, no mouth, just a blank surface that vibrated with sound, and it whispered in my mom's voice. They built us to remember love because it hurts more when they take it back. The rest of the shapes joined in, hundreds of them, repeating the same line in perfect unison until it turned into pure mechanical noise. I screamed. The noise copied it, note for note, looping it until it wasn't a scream anymore, just data. When the light returned, I was standing, reset, in the middle of the white room again. Everything was clean. Even the walls I'd marked were blank. But my reflection in the metal toilet lid was wrong. The face staring back blinked a split second before I did. Then it smiled, calm and polite. It said, without sound, "We ran the simulation 16 times. You always break here." I backed away. The reflection didn't move. Instead, the room tilted, literally tilted, like gravity had been reprogrammed, and I slid across the smooth floor toward the reflection until my nose touched the steel. For the briefest moment, the metal gave way like a liquid mirror, and I saw another room beyond it, identical, but empty except for the shadow of me standing at the far end waving. The cube spoke again, softly. External environment restored. Prepare for release. A seam opened in the wall, forming a door I hadn't seen before. Cold air rushed in. Real air. Desert air. I stumbled through it, into sunlight so bright it burned. For a moment, I thought I was free. I saw a sky, sand, a fence, the outline of distant mountains. But then I noticed the sky wasn't moving. No wind, no clouds, just a static blue texture stretched across an invisible dome. And faintly, beneath the constant hum of the fake wind, I could hear a muffled recording of my own heartbeat, looping. Somewhere behind me, the cube's voice echoed one last time. Merge, complete. Subject 17. B archived. New environment loading. The horizon flickered, glitched like an old VHS frame, and every billboard, every parked car, every shadow cast by the sun suddenly bore my face. It took me a long time to realize the desert wasn't outside. It was another layer of the experiment, just better disguised. Every sound had that faint compression artifact tone you hear in cheap MP3s. Every breeze looped every 17 seconds. Even the sunlight felt filtered, like it had been rendered. I walked until my throat burned. The horizon kept resetting. Same rock, same patch of sand, same perfectly scented sun. Eventually, I found a sign sticking out of the dust. A white rectangle with raised black letters. Exit. Authorized subjects only. I touched the sign. It was warm, pulsing. Under my fingers, the paint shifted, rearranging into a different message. Are you authorized yet? That's when the noise came back. Low, electrical, crawling out of the ground. It sounded almost like voices, layered, sped up, reversed. I pressed my ear to the sand. The earth hummed in Morse code, dots and dashes, spelling out a sentence that made no sense and too much sense at once. Remember the room remembers you. The sand quivered, then flattened smooth again, like nothing had been there. I ran. I don't know for how long. Running didn't change anything. Every direction ended with the same sign. After the 7th loop, the ground started showing footprints that weren't mine. Bare, symmetrical, perfectly spaced, leading directly toward me. When they reached my toes, they stopped, and then they began walking backward, as if someone unseen was retracing them into the past. By the time the sky went gray, a sound like a tape rewinding screamed overhead. The whole world stuttered, and suddenly, I was back in my Kansas City apartment, sitting on my couch, phone buzzing on the coffee table, notifications, work emails, mom calling. Everything looked right, until I noticed the cube on the floor beside my laptop. Same size, same etching, but now the word read, record. I picked it up. The screen on my laptop lit on its own, camera indicator flashing red. The cube pulsed once, and my mom's voice spilled out of the speakers. Sweetheart, tell them what happened. We need more data. Her tone was calm, almost proud. I tried to close the laptop, but the trackpad stuck to my fingers, literally fused, like static glue. The camera feed showed my face, lagging half a second behind my movements, and then my reflection smiled, without me again. The cube clicked. Begin replication stream. A folder appeared on my desktop. /White Room, uploads /inside were hundreds of video thumbnails. All of me, all telling the same story, each one with different details, different clothes, different dates. In one, I had a scar that I don't have now. In another, the walls behind me were still white. Each file name ended with a number, 17B, 18A, 19F. I scrolled to the bottom. File 42Z, live. It was open before I could stop it. On screen was a live stream interface, comments flooding in, usernames I didn't recognize, but some of them looked almost real. At mom_17B, at obscure 4911, at tethered_mirrors. They were typing, he's almost done. This iteration remembers too much. Reset when he reaches timestamp 5:42. I checked the timer at the bottom corner of the video. 5:39, 5:40, 5:41. The room around me glitched, frames skipping, air vibrating. I lunged for the cube, desperate to smash it, but the surface went soft again, breathing under my hands. It whispered in my own voice, "You were never hired. You were compiled." Then the timer hit 5:42. The world blinked. When the light came back, I was sitting in a different white room, identical but colder. A new meal box, a new speaker, a label above the door. Subject 18. A. Reinitiated, and from the ceiling, faint and familiar, my mother's voice began again. Perfect, loving, false. "Sweetie, I'm so proud of you for coming back. Sometimes, late at night, when I scroll through YouTube, I see new creepypasta videos pop up. People reading this story, word for word, their channels barely days old. And if you pause at the right second, in the reflection of the narrator's eyes, you can see me, still sitting in the room, still listening, waiting for the next voice to press record. I paid a hitman to kill me, just to see if he'd do it. He's making me earn my money back first. Alright, this is probably gonna sound completely insane. I don't even know how to start this without sounding like I'm making it up. But I swear on everything, this happened. And it's still happening. Let me get one thing out of the way first. I'm not suicidal. I wasn't depressed. I didn't want to die. That's the part no one believes when I tell them the story. And yeah, maybe I was a little messed up in the head when I did what I did, but it wasn't about wanting to die. It was about curiosity. Sick, obsessive curiosity. You ever get so deep into something online that you don't even know how you got there? Like you go from watching some dumb TikTok compilation to reading a 3-hour Reddit thread about people vanishing in national parks, and then somehow you're on a website you definitely shouldn't be on. Yeah, that was me. It started normal. I was home alone one night. Roommate was out on a Tinder date or something, and I was just vibing on YouTube, watching animated horror stories. You know the ones, that channel, Here's My Story? Yeah, those freaky, low-voice narrations with the smooth animation that always ends with someone being stalked or going missing. That's my comfort food. I'm weird like that. Anyway, one story came up in the recommendations that I hadn't seen before. It was titled, I Hired a Hitman Off the Dark Web. He Found Me First. Cheesy, right? I clicked it anyway. But this one was different. Way more detailed than usual. The guy in the video said he'd found a hidden service on the dark web where you could pay someone to kill you. Like assisted suicide, but with a twist. You didn't get to know when, or how, or where. You just live your life, waiting. At first, I laughed. I mean, who would actually do that? But something about it stuck with me. The idea that someone could be out there, tracking you, watching, waiting, not because they hate you or want revenge, just because you paid them to. It was so stupidly fascinating. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's when I did something really dumb. I went looking for the website. Now I'm not gonna say the name of the site, for obvious reasons. And honestly, I don't even know if it was the real dark web or just some really messed up deep web forum. I got there through a chain of Tor browser links I found in a random Discord server dedicated to ARGS, alternate reality games. There was a lot of junk, fake red rooms, password-locked forums, scammy Bitcoin sites pretending to sell passports and organs, that kind of thing. But then I found a thread called, Do Not Click This Link Unless You Want to Die. And of course, I clicked. The site was super bare bones, no flashy graphics, no creepy music, just a black background and a single form. It said, Request Termination Service. Enter. Name. Upload selfie. Drop your address. For verification only. Preferred method. Random/specific/surprise me. BTC. Wallet. Submit. I wish I could say I hesitated, that I stared at the screen, sweating, my finger hovering over the keyboard like in a movie. But nah, I filled it out in like 30 seconds, used an old Gmail alias I never use anymore, uploaded a photo I already had on my desktop, from my passport renewal, dropped my actual address like a complete idiot, and I selected surprise me for method, because why not, right? And for the final touch, I sent 0.25 BTC. That's like almost $8,000 USD now. I had some crypto I'd been sitting on since 2019 and thought, screw it. This is my version of bungee jumping. Then I closed my laptop, went to McDonald's, ate some nuggets, and forgot about it. For 2 days, nothing happened. No emails, no weird texts, no vans parked outside. I figured it was just some elaborate scam. They took my Bitcoin and dipped. Lesson learned. Expensive, but hey, at least no one actually came to kill me. But then, on day 3, something changed. It started small. I noticed the picture frame on my desk, the one with my mom and little brother from my trip to Toronto, was turned backward. I live alone. I never touched that frame. I chalked it up to sleepwalking or maybe knocking it over without realizing. Then I saw the Starbucks receipt. It was sitting on my kitchen counter. Tall iced matcha, no classic, 1 pump vanilla. That's my order. But the timestamp said 7:13 a.m. I was still asleep at 7:13 a.m. and I hadn't gone to Starbucks in over a week. Someone bought my drink. The next night, my Ring camera picked up motion on my front porch. I got the notification, opened the app, and froze. There was a man, wearing a black hoodie, no visible face. He stood in complete silence, just outside the view of the camera, like he knew where the lens was. He didn't knock, didn't try to get in, just stood there for maybe a full minute, then walked off. No license plate, no ID, just gone. I tried to tell myself it was unrelated. Some random creep. Happens all the time, right? But when I went to bed that night, there was a note under my pillow. Not folded, not in an envelope. Just a torn piece of paper. No signature, no threats. Just 3 words. Make it count. Yeah. That's when I started to panic. I stayed at a friend's place for a few nights. Didn't tell them why. Just said I was having apartment issues. I deleted the Tor browser, wiped my hard drive, even changed my phone number. I kept checking my bank account, my credit cards, socials, nothing out of place. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just a plain cardboard box. Inside was a burner phone, already powered on. 1 number in the contact list. No other apps, just 1 wallpaper. My face, cropped from that passport photo I'd uploaded. That night, it rang. The phone rang at 3:14 a.m. That sound, it wasn't loud. It wasn't even shrill. It was this slow, vibrating buzz that echoed through my chest, like it was coming from inside me. I remember just staring at it, watching the caller ID. Unknown contact. No number, no name. Just the word live in gray letters underneath. I don't know why, but I answered. At first there was nothing, just this faint static. Then a man's voice, calm, clear, and too close. You paid for this? I froze. I didn't say anything. He laughed. Not a maniac's laugh, not even a human one. It sounded like someone pretending to laugh, like they'd heard people do it before, but didn't understand how. You remember what you wanted, right? Don't worry, you'll get your money's worth. Then, silence. I waited, holding my breath. I could hear something faint on the other end. Not static this time. Breathing. Slow. Steady. Right into the microphone. But you're gonna earn it back first. Click. The call ended. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, staring at that phone until the sun came up. By morning, there was a text waiting for me. Rule number 1, Keep the phone charged. Always. For the next few days, the messages kept coming. Short, direct, each one creepier than the last. Rule number 2, don't tell anyone. Rule number 3, never leave town without permission. Rule number 4, do not ignore instructions. Rule number 5, smile for the camera. I had no idea what that last one meant until the following morning when I opened Instagram. There it was. A new account had followed me at smile4th, camera _. No posts, no followers, but the profile picture was me, standing in my kitchen, smiling, wearing clothes I hadn't worn in days, and the caption under the only story posted said, "Good morning." It was time-stamped 3 hours ago. I felt my chest go hollow. The sunlight pouring through my blinds looked wrong somehow, like the world outside was just slightly off, too quiet, too still. When I tried to delete the account, my phone froze. Screen glitched out, went black, then lit up again. New message, same number. Rule number 6, don't delete anything. I tried to fight it. I wanted to pretend none of it was real. But the world around me started to warp in ways I couldn't ignore. At work, my manager called me into her office to ask why I'd been sending her pictures. I didn't know what she meant until she showed me her phone. There were 6 images. Me in my apartment. Different times, different angles. I looked wrong. My eyes too wide, my posture stiff, like I'd been posed. In one, I was staring directly into the camera, mouth open in a half smile that didn't reach my eyes. The timestamps matched the times I'd been asleep. I left work early that day. On the drive home, I noticed a white van following me. No plates. Same distance the whole way. Every turn, every lane change. When I finally pulled into my parking lot and got out, it just kept going. Slowly, like it wanted me to see it. When I got inside, there was a note taped to my mirror. Printed, not handwritten this time. You did good today. Rule number 7, keep smiling. I tore it down and locked myself in the bathroom. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. I turned on the sink just to hear something normal. Then I saw the reflection behind me. Not a person, just the faint outline of one. A shape standing in the dark corner of my living room, visible only through the mirror. When I turned around, it was gone. I called the police that night. They checked my place, took a statement, told me it was probably a digital harassment case. They didn't find any hidden cameras, no signs of forced entry. One of the officers even joked, "Maybe you've got a fan." I didn't laugh. The next morning, another text. Rule number 8, never involve the police. That was the first time I realized he, or they, were watching everything. Even my calls, my thoughts, my panic. That night, I decided to test it. I left the phone charging and went out to a Starbucks across town. Didn't bring it with me. Just sat there for an hour, scrolling aimlessly, trying to breathe like a normal person. When I came back, the phone was still on the table where I left it, but there was a new photo on the screen. It was me, sitting in Starbucks. Same clothes, same drink, same angle. The photo had been taken from outside the window. Rule number 9, never test the rules. After that, things got worse. My apartment started to feel wrong. Objects weren't where I left them. My TV would turn on by itself at exactly 3:14 a.m. every night, the same time the first call came in. Static screen, faint whispers underneath, like radio chatter or distorted breathing. One night, I muted the sound, but I swear I could still feel the words buzzing in the room, like pressure behind my eyes. The next morning, the TV remote was gone. In its place was a small flash drive. When I plugged it into my laptop, there was just one file, EARN_BACK.MOV. It was a video. It started with security footage, grainy black and white, from my apartment. Me, asleep on the couch. A figure standing in the corner again, tall and still. Face blurred like a bad sensor effect. After a few seconds, the camera zoomed in, too smoothly for a human hand. My sleeping self twitched, like I could feel it watching. Then the screen went dark. Words appeared. "You asked for this. Now you work for me." Then it cut to a different clip. One of me at work, taken from the ceiling cameras. The same text appeared again, flickering like a glitch. "Smile. You're part of the story now." The texts changed after that. No more rules. Now they were tasks. Leave your front door unlocked tonight. Go to the park. Sit on the last bench. Don't look behind you. Record yourself saying your name. Play it back before you sleep. I tried ignoring them, but every time I did, something happened. Power outages, corrupted files on my laptop, my own reflection smiling when I wasn't. The phone would buzz endlessly until I obeyed. And the worst part, the longer it went on, the more the world outside started to shift. People looked familiar, but not quite right. Faces I'd seen before, in random places, now showing up everywhere. The barista at Starbucks, the guy at the gas station, even my neighbor, all smiling the same too wide grin, all moving just slightly out of sync. The last message I got said, "Rule number 10, it's not about dying anymore, it's about becoming." And that's when I realized what earning it back meant. He didn't want my death. He wanted my life. Every piece of it. Every face I saw. Every thought I had. Every step I took. I wasn't a target anymore. I was part of whatever this was. A story. A game. A broadcast. I still have the phone. I keep it turned off now, wrapped in aluminum foil in a box in my closet. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can still hear it vibrate. Not from the box, from inside the walls. And if you think this can't get worse, wait until you see what happens when he starts sending me recordings of myself that I don't remember making. The night after I buried the phone in foil, my apartment went quiet. Too quiet. Like the walls were waiting to breathe. For the first time in weeks, I almost felt safe. I streamed a movie on Netflix just to hear something human. Halfway through, the screen glitched. The sound warped into a low hum, and the video froze. The loading symbol spun for a full minute before the image came back. It wasn't the movie anymore. It was my living room. Same angle as my TV. Same couch. Same half-empty coffee mug still sitting on the table. And me, sitting there, watching the screen. Only this version of me was smiling. Wide. Motionless. The real me sat frozen, staring at my own face, staring back. The fake version leaned closer, lips twitching like he wanted to say something, but the sound wouldn't come through. The hum got louder, vibrating through the floor, through my teeth. Then the image cut out. Netflix closed itself. A text appeared on my laptop screen. No app open, just letters typing themselves across a blank white document. Rule number 11, do not unplug the signal. The next morning, every device I owned had changed. My phone wallpaper was a looping clip of static with a faint outline of my apartment in it. My smartwatch alarm went off at exactly 3:14 a.m., just like the first call. My Bluetooth speaker whispered faint audio, not words, just breath and distant footsteps. Even my Alexa started reacting to things that weren't there. I'd hear her voice at random, I'm listening. Can you repeat that? Someone's here. It wasn't funny anymore. It felt like the technology itself had turned into an organism, all connected, all aware. That afternoon, I went outside just to feel sunlight. People were walking normally, laughing, carrying Starbucks cups, scrolling TikTok. All of them so normal. But when I looked closer, it was like the edges of them blurred, faces repeating, movements looping. A man dropped his coffee, bent down, picked it up, and then did it again. The exact same motion, like a video glitching. My brain screamed that I was losing it, but the world felt edited. When I got home, there was a cardboard package waiting at my door. My name printed on it, no sender. Inside was a single USB stick labeled Channel 013. I plugged it into my TV because I knew whoever was behind this wanted me to. And sure enough, the screen lit up to an interface that looked like a live stream site. One channel available, live feed, user, you. The feed showed a dark room with concrete walls, a chair in the middle. Someone was sitting in it, head down, wearing my clothes. The camera zoomed in slowly until I could see their face. Mine. Except this version of me was pale, blank eyes, mouth open just enough to hear him breathing through the mic. I leaned closer to the screen. His mouth twitched. Then, with a voice that didn't sound like me at all, he said, "Rule number 12, say hello to your audience." And my TV turned off by itself. For the next few days, the live feed wouldn't stop appearing. On my phone, my laptop, even on the public displays in Times Square live streams. Every so often, a frame of me would flash. People online noticed. There were Reddit threads about it. Weird guy showing up on random CCTV feeds. Real ARG or government glitch. A few users tagged me without knowing who I was, because somehow the account broadcasting it used my real initials. I stopped going to work. I stopped leaving my apartment. Then the recordings started showing up. Flash drives taped to my door. One each morning, labeled with dates. Every one of them was security footage of me, but doing things I didn't remember doing. Walking outside in the middle of the night, standing motionless in the lobby for hours, talking to people who weren't there. In one clip, I was in a McDonald's at 2 a.m., standing behind the counter, smiling at the drive-through camera. The workers looked terrified. The timestamp said it was 2 nights ago, but I swear I was home, trying to sleep. When I finally built the courage to watch all the clips back to back, I realized something horrifying. The figure that had been in the background of the early footage, the tall, blurred one, wasn't there anymore. He had become me. Each new video showed a more confident, smoother version of myself, moving differently, smiling longer, like whatever controlled him was learning how to mimic me perfectly. And then the messages changed tone. Rule number 13, you are the broadcast. Rule number 14, keep performing. At first, I thought it meant surveillance, like they were still watching me. But then I started noticing people reacting to me in real life. At the grocery store, a kid pointed and said, "You're from that video." An Uber driver refused to let me in his car, muttering that he'd seen my face on the feed. Even my mom called, her voice shaking. "Why did you send that video of you laughing? What's wrong with your eyes?" I didn't send her anything. Now every screen I pass flickers for a split second, sometimes showing my reflection delayed by half a second, sometimes showing a different version of me entirely. One night, while scrolling TikTok, I saw a live that had 0 viewers and no username. It was me again, sitting at my desk. Behind me, a tall shadow leaned in and whispered something. I muted the phone immediately. I could still hear it. Words inside my head, crawling behind my thoughts. You wanted to know what it felt like to die. Now you're learning what it's like to stop existing. That's when I realized the hitman wasn't a person. It was the system, the network of devices, cameras, and eyes I'd invited into my life. I'd paid to disappear, but instead, I'd been digitized, fragmented into recordings, loops, glitches, and now those fragments were living without me. I haven't left the apartment in weeks. When I unplug my router, the lights flicker until I turn it back on. When I turn off the TV, it turns itself on again and plays whispers of my own voice. The latest flash drive had only one file, final_broadcast.move. It showed a crowd watching a giant screen in some public square. The screen showed me, smiling, eyes wide, repeating, "Make it count, make it count, make it count," over and over. Then the camera turned around to show the crowd. Every single face was me. The last message appeared on the phone before it went dark for good. Rule number 15, you're almost done. Don't stop recording. Now every mirror in my apartment flickers when I walk past. My reflection moves before I do. Sometimes it grins. And somewhere out there, the broadcast keeps streaming. If you ever see a random live feed pop up, a man sitting alone in a dim room, smiling just a little too long, don't watch it. Because the moment you do, it starts recording you too. And by the time you read that one, check your camera light. If it's on, you're already part of the broadcast. I think it's already happened. The replacement. I don't remember when exactly. I just know that sometime between the final broadcast and last night, I stopped feeling like the one behind my eyes. Have you ever stared at yourself in the mirror long enough that your own face becomes unfamiliar? Like the person looking back is just wearing your skin, like an old hoodie. That's what every second feels like now. Like I'm watching someone pilot me from a distance. But the worst part isn't that I'm being replaced. It's that I can still feel myself watching from the inside. And I'm screaming. But nobody hears me. Let me go back, just a little. After I saw the crowd of me in the last broadcast, I locked every door, covered the mirrors, shut off all my screens. I disconnected everything, smart TV, Wi-Fi, Alexa, even pulled the breaker switch, sat in pure silence, just darkness. It was the first moment I'd had alone in weeks. But then my phone, the one I destroyed, buzzed in the drawer. No light, no charger. It was dead. I had smashed it, but it vibrated. Once, then again. Then, without any lights, the speaker crackled, and a voice whispered so clearly, I couldn't pretend it wasn't real. You're not supposed to unplug. That night, I started dreaming in third person. I'd see myself walking down the street in slow motion, smiling at strangers, entering buildings I'd never been to, walking out covered in something wet and dark. I'd wake up with dirt under my nails, mud on my shoes, my keys missing. Once, I woke up and my front door was open. No sign of break-in, nothing stolen, but someone had written on my bathroom mirror in what I hope was red lipstick, "You're not doing a very good job being you." After that, I started receiving photos again, not on flash drives this time, printed, delivered in thick black envelopes slipped under my door. The photos were wrong. Me, sitting on the floor of someone else's apartment. Me, staring at a child through a window at night. Me, in a hotel hallway, mid-step, looking directly into the lens. In all of them, I wasn't alone. There was a figure beside me, tall, thin, face blurred to hell, but it was always mimicking me, mirroring my posture, and each envelope had one sentence typed in all caps. You are not the original. My body started doing things without me. That sounds crazy, I know, but one morning I woke up with scratches across my arm, deep, parallel, too clean to be from anything random. My fingernails were red. Under my pillow was a receipt. 3:29 a.m. 1 gas canister, 1 lighter, 1 clown mask. Store, Walmart. Security camera, ID number handwritten at the bottom. I drove to the store, walked up to the manager, told him I lost my receipt and wanted to double check the purchase. He scanned the barcode, froze, then slowly looked up at me and said, "You're the guy from last week." I asked what he meant. He said, "You were here at close. You paid cash, didn't speak, just smiled." Then he asked if I wanted to come look at the footage. I said yes. We walked into the back room, and I watched myself, or something were in me, walk in, buy the stuff, and walk out. But the scariest part wasn't what I did. It was what happened when I left the frame. The camera kept recording. Static swallowed the screen, and then another camera feed popped up. A feed from my apartment. Live. The footage showed me standing in the center of my living room, facing the wall, motionless, and it looped, again, and again, and again. "That's not from here," the manager said quietly. "That's not one of our cameras." I went home, sat on my bed for hours, thought about checking into a hospital, but part of me knew what I'd find there. Other me, the one that's slowly taken over, the one who never blinks in photos, the one whose reflection moves a beat too slow. I opened my laptop just to write this all down, to feel human again. But the screen didn't show my desktop. It showed a live stream. The channel title, Replacement Live, 24/7 feed. The view, my bedroom, from the ceiling, looking down at me. Only, I wasn't sitting at the computer in the feed. I was lying on the floor, staring straight up, mouth wide open, and my eyes, they weren't mine. They were black, like 2 holes someone dug into my skull. I slammed the laptop shut, stumbled backward, but the screen on my phone lit up. The live stream played again, and this time, the me on the floor began to laugh. A low, bubbling noise, like someone choking on tar. Then he spoke. My voice, distorted, delayed, came out of the speaker. "You didn't pay for death. You paid for deletion. And now the broadcast needs space. I think I'm already gone. I think what's left of me is just residue, like data overwritten by a stronger signal. I don't feel hunger anymore. I don't sleep. I just wait. And every few hours, I feel my body move. Just a twitch, a blink, and I know it's not me doing it. Last night I blinked, and suddenly I was in a park, 2:45 a.m. No memory of getting there. There was a phone booth nearby. Old, graffitied, broken glass. The phone inside was ringing. I picked it up. The voice whispered, "You've done enough pretending. Now it's your turn to watch." When I got home, my walls were covered in photos. All of them. Me. But not me. Different. Too clean. Too rehearsed. Like someone had built a perfect version of me from memory and was trying to rehearse my life like a script. There were sticky notes with labels. Work. Smile less. Grocery store. Blink slower. Don't use left hand too much. Original is right dominant. It was like someone was studying me. like they had been for a long time. There's a sound that comes from the vents now. Low, wet clicking. It sounds like typing, like fingers on keys, but mechanical, like a creature made of teeth learning to mimic sound. I've stopped answering the door. People knock at the exact same time every day. 5 knocks. Pause. Then 3 more. Once, I peeked through the peephole. It was me, smiling, holding a clipboard, wearing a name tag that just said replacement. If you're reading this, here's the last thing I can tell you. When you give your identity away, when you willingly offer it up to be consumed by something that lives in wires and eyes and screens, you don't just disappear, you echo, and something else steps into the space where you used to be. Something that smiles better, walks straighter, knows how to say your name like it owns it. And you become the observer, stuck inside the broadcast, watching yourself be perfected. Final part. But by the time it ends, you'll be wondering if you ever truly closed your own camera. I haven't seen sunlight in I don't know how long. Every clock in the apartment shows a different time, but somehow they all keep ticking together. I tried unplugging them. They keep ticking. The replacement, the thing that wears my face, still leaves messages for me, like it's proud of its progress. Sticky notes on my fridge, text to my old number that I shouldn't even receive anymore. They like you better now. You smile more naturally than the original ever did. It signs every message with a little white square emoji, like an empty file, a placeholder. Last week I thought I'd finally escaped it. I packed what I could carry, laptop, clothes, hard drive, and drove until the GPS stopped showing roads. There was this dirt motel out past the state line, neon sign half burned out, no Wi-Fi, no cameras, no people. I thought maybe if I went somewhere offline, it couldn't find me. When I checked in, the clerk didn't even look up, just slid me a key, mumbled something like, "Room 13's open." His eyes didn't blink. The TV in that room was the old box kind, static forever humming even when it was off. The air smelled like dust and copper. For a while, I sat on the bed and told myself this was freedom. I could start over, maybe even laugh again someday. Then I noticed the picture on the wall. It was a photograph of me, sitting on that same bed, same clothes, same angle, only my mouth was open wider than it should be, like I was caught mid-scream. At exactly 3:14 a.m., the static on the TV flared white. The hum turned into a voice, layered, mechanical, almost polite. Rule number 16, you don't leave the story. I pulled the plug out of the wall. The screen stayed on. Rule number 17, there is no offline. The image flickered, and the replacement appeared on the screen. Perfect posture, polite smile, talking directly to me. They asked for realism, it said. You gave them fear. They liked it. Now they want the ending. It turned its head, as if listening to someone standing just behind the camera. Then it said, softly, "We're live." The motel lights outside went out one by one. When I opened the curtain, I saw rows of people standing in the parking lot. Not moving, not breathing. Faces washed white by the TV glow, leaking through the blinds. Each of them had a phone raised, filming. I pressed my hand to the glass. They all pressed theirs, back at the same time. And every single one of them was me. Dozens of me, all at slightly different ages, hairstyles, versions. Like every recording ever taken of me had stepped out of its file. I dropped the curtain and ran to the bathroom. The mirror was fogged over, even though the shower hadn't run. Words appeared in the condensation. Last rule, let go. The next thing I remember is waking up on the floor with my laptop open beside me. The screen showed a blank document, typing itself again. You are the signal now. Underneath, a location ping. My apartment. I hadn't been there in weeks. When I drove back, the city felt empty. Traffic lights still changed, but there were no cars. Billboards glowed with ads that all had my eyes in them. Starbucks cups in the gutter had my name written in the same handwriting. My apartment door was unlocked. Inside, everything was arranged exactly as I'd left it, except there was someone sitting at my desk, typing. He turned around. He looked exactly like me, but cleaner, brighter, no exhaustion under the eyes. He smiled. You made it just in time. They're waiting. I told him to move. He didn't. He just pointed to the laptop screen. A live counter ticked upward. Viewers, 58,273. 58,274. On the screen was a live feed of the room we were in. Me and him. The camera angle matched the corner of the ceiling. He leaned in close enough for me to feel his breath. Go ahead. Tell them which one's real. I ran. Out the door. Down the hall. Every apartment I passed was filled with people that looked like me, all performing tiny, mundane actions on loop. Pouring coffee, tying shoes, smiling, and from somewhere down the corridor, a chorus of voices started chanting in sync. Make it count. Make it count. Make it count. I kicked open the stairwell door and sprinted down, but each landing was the same floor repeated. My hallway cloned endlessly downward. Every exit door led back into my apartment. On the final door, a note was taped. Congratulations. The pilot episode tested well. Now I'm writing this from that same desk. The replacement isn't here anymore. Or maybe I'm the replacement now. I don't know which version survived. The stream counter says 1.2 million watching. Comments fly past faster than I can read. Some people say this has to be fake. Some type he looks different now. Some just spam emojis. Every few seconds, the chat fills with the same message. Smile for the camera. I try to stop typing, but my hands keep moving. The feed doesn't end. Every key I hit, every breath I take, it all uploads instantly. Somewhere, out there, people are seeing this not as a story, but as content. And they keep watching, because the fear looks so authentic. That's the secret, isn't it? The hitman was never a person. The dark website was never a trap. It was a doorway, a contract I signed without reading. I paid for death. I got broadcast immortality. Now I exist everywhere a screen lights up. If you see my face on your feed, smiling a little too long, blinking a little too late, don't interact. Don't comment. Don't even pause to watch, because the moment you do, the viewer count changes, and the story needs a new replacement. I went on the dark web, looking for a way to pay rent. The job offer came from my future self. Yo, what's up, Reddit? Throwaway account here for obvious reasons. This story's gonna sound fake as hell. I know that. But if even one person reads this and decides not to go poking around where they shouldn't, then good. I did my part. Alright, let's get into it. So this all started, like a lot of horror stories do nowadays, with me being broke as hell. It was August. I live in a tiny studio apartment near Chicago, like 15 minutes from Wrigley Field. Rent's about $1,100 per month, which I know is cheap for the area, but I'm a 23-year-old part-time Uber Eats driver and a failed Twitch streamer, so it might as well have been $1 million. My roommate bailed last minute to go live in Bali with a yoga chick he met on Hinge, his words. So now I was stuck covering the whole rent alone. I had $312 in my bank account, no backup plan. My mom was already letting me stay on her Netflix. Couldn't ask her for more. Now, here's where it gets sketchy. I'd heard stories about people making quick money on the deep web, not selling anything illegal, not doing anything illegal, at least not directly, just like weird side gigs, paid to test websites, paid to watch surveillance footage and write down anything unusual, weird stuff, but legal enough. And yes, I know, the second you say deep web, it sounds like some 2014 high school creepypasta with red text and screaming goat videos. But I swear to God, this was real. I did everything right. Downloaded Tor, used a VPN, no JavaScript, no personal info, anywhere. I even had my webcam taped, just in case. I browsed through a few forums and hidden sites, mostly trash. Sketchy drug listings, bootleg Netflix accounts, a guy selling exotic spiders named after serial killers. Seriously. But then I found a forum called Clean Work, Fast Pay. It looked pretty normal. Minimalist layout, all text, no graphics. Just a list of gigs, kind of like Craigslist for the damned. A lot of them were dumb, obviously fake. Get paid $500 to test dream recording software. Enter a 3-hour sensory deprivation pod and write a review. But one thread stood out. It was titled, Job, 1 to 2 hours, safe, private, extremely high pay. You've already been chosen. The description was vague, but really well written, like unnaturally formal. Here's exactly what it said. I saved a screenshot. You are being offered this position because your response has already been received. There is only one shift, one location, one action. You will receive $3,500 for completing the task. Payment will be wired instantly upon completion. Click here to confirm your acceptance. Your presence is expected. You. Now, obviously, I assumed it was a scam or a virus or something, but I hovered over the link and it was a .onion address. Nothing popped out as suspicious right away. My curiosity was too loud, bro. I had that stupid itch in my brain, like when you know a horror movie character's about to open the basement door and you're yelling, "Don't go in," but deep down you want them to. I clicked. It loaded a black page with white text. Confirmed. Thank you. Your presence has been acknowledged. Then below that, Chicago, Illinois, October 10th, 2025, 1:44 a.m., back door of 3347 North Paulina Street. That's like 10 minutes from where I live. There was also a countdown timer, just ticking down the days, hours, minutes. No button, no cancel option. That was it. I took a screenshot. Then I closed the browser, shut off my VPN, and convinced myself I'd just walked into some weird digital art project or ARG or whatever. But when I checked my email the next day, my personal Gmail, I had a message from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line. Inside, it just said, "You have already said yes." Attached was a video. It was a screen recording of me the night before, clicking that confirm link. Same cursor movement, same clicks, same breathing. It was my screen, but I never recorded anything. I didn't sleep that night. I know. At this point, you're probably thinking, just walk away. And honestly, that's what I should have done. But here's the thing that really messed me up. The email didn't come from a sketchy hidden address. It came from me, my own Gmail account. And when I checked my sent folder, nothing. I called my buddy Marcus the next morning. He's a cybersecurity major, big into hacking and crypto and all that. Told him everything. He laughed at first, said maybe I got phished or someone spoofed my email. But then I showed him the timer page. His face dropped. He tried checking the site on his own VPN, but it wouldn't load, like it didn't even exist anymore. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. It only worked for me. Now, fast forward a few weeks. It's October 9th, one day before the job. By now, I'd written it off as a prank or some elaborate scare tactic, but something deep down kept bugging me. Like when you forget if you left the stove on. That kind of paranoia that just eats at you all day. Then, around 11 p.m., I get another email. No subject, no text, just a video file. I played it. It was footage of me, walking down a dark alley, exact same clothes I was wearing right then. The footage was grainy, black and white, like a cheap CCTV cam, but it was me. And behind me was this black SUV, slowly creeping, no license plate, headlights off. It ends with me turning around, wide-eyed, like I'm hearing something. Then it cuts. I still have the video. And here's the craziest part. The timestamp on the bottom right. October 10th, 1:43 a.m. 1 minute before I was supposed to be at that address. Anyway, I know this is already long. I'll stop here for now. I'm gonna post part 2 tomorrow. 'Cause trust me, it gets way worse. Like, this isn't even the scary part. But if you're still reading and think this is fake or a story, fine. Just remember, I didn't apply for the job. I just accepted it. And apparently, I already had. October 10th, the timer hit 0. I didn't plan on going. I had every intention of locking my door, putting on a podcast, and pretending the whole thing didn't happen. I even considered driving out to Indiana just to be far away from the address. But when 1:20 a.m. rolled around, my phone buzzed once. Unknown number, no name, just one text. If you don't come to the door, we'll come to yours. No punctuation, no context. But attached was a photo. It was my apartment, my building, my window, taken from across the street. The lights were off, exactly how they were right then. And that's when I realized something was very wrong with the world. Not just with me or this job, but like reality was bending in ways it wasn't supposed to. I could feel it, like the pressure in the air before a tornado. There was something outside the rules of what the world allowed, watching me, waiting. I grabbed my coat and left. It was 1:37 a.m. when I got to 3347N Paulina. It was just an old, half-boarded duplex, not abandoned, but definitely unloved. Peeling paint, cracked steps, a little no trespassing sign by the mailbox, half buried in weeds, no lights on. But the back door, it was open, only a crack, just enough for me to know it wasn't locked. I remember staring at it for a full minute, shaking and hearing this buzzing in my ears, not like a bug or a fly, but like electrical buzzing, that high-pitched frequency that hits right before a panic attack. Then I walked in. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No ambient noise, no wind, no traffic, just the sound of my own breath echoing off the drywall. The inside looked like someone had gutted the place halfway and gave up. Torn carpet, empty rooms, a a couch with no cushions, and right in the center of the living room, underneath a broken ceiling fan, was a chair, wooden, plain, facing a full-length mirror. That mirror, God, that mirror. It wasn't dusty like everything else. It was perfectly clean, like someone had just wiped it down. There were these tiny carvings around the edge of the frame, symbols I didn't recognize, circles intersecting lines, almost mathematical, but wrong. Behind me, the door clicked shut. I spun around. No one there. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Not from inside the house. From inside the mirror. It took my brain a second to process what I was seeing. In the reflection, I was sitting in the chair. But I wasn't sitting. I was strapped down. Duct tape across my mouth. Rope around my wrists. A black hoodie stained with something dark. And behind me, in the mirror, was a man. Tall, skinny, wearing a latex mask that looked like a photorealistic version of my own face, but slightly off, like it was made by someone who had only heard about me through description. The proportions were wrong, the eyes too wide, the mouth too flat. He raised a hand, a finger, waved. I turned around. Nothing. When I looked back into the mirror, he was closer, standing right behind me in the chair. Then he leaned in and whispered something into Mirror Me's ear. Blood started dripping from the sides of my reflection's head. Not pouring. Dripping. Like someone had stabbed an ice pick into the skull, just beneath the ear, and left it in. I watched myself in that mirror start to convulse, teeth chattering, eyes rolling back, drool mixing with blood. The man in the mask just kept whispering, softly. Then he looked up, stared directly at me, and said, without moving his mouth, "You knew what this was." The next second, the mirror cracked from the inside. Not like someone punched it. It cracked like something inside wanted out. I backed away, nearly tripping, and that's when I felt something under my shoe. I looked down. There was a Polaroid photo. Old, yellowing. I picked it up with shaking hands. It was a photo of me, tied to the chair. Same clothes I was wearing right then. Same blood running down the neck. On the back, written in my handwriting, "This is where it ends." But it had to begin first. Then the buzzing came back, louder, angrier. The room started to shake like a plane going through turbulence. The walls pulsed, like breathing. The mirror shattered completely, but there was no glass on the ground. It was like it shattered inward, and in its place was a hole, blacker than black. Not darkness, just nothing. Like the absence of light, the absence of meaning. And from that nothingness, something stepped out. I don't know how to describe it. It was me, but aged, pale, hair falling out in patches, eyes yellowed and watery, lips dry and cracked. But it was me. He walked toward me slowly, dragging one foot, like it was shattered. His right hand was missing fingers. His hoodie was soaked in blood. My blood. And then he said something that I hear every single night since that moment. He leaned in close, nose to nose, smiling. "Don't worry. I'll do it better this time." I blacked out. I woke up on the couch. No blood, no mirror. The house looked completely normal again, but on the floor was an envelope. Inside it, $3,500 in crisp $100 bills, and a note. "Thank you for your service. We'll call when the next shift opens. You." I went home. I threw the money in my closet, took the longest shower of my life, scrubbed my skin till it bled. I thought maybe I hallucinated the whole thing, until 2 days later, Marcus was found dead. They ruled it a suicide, said he hung himself in his dorm, left no note. But here's what messed me up. On his desk, they found a USB. Inside it, one file, a screen recording of me in the chair, screaming, muffled, bleeding from the ears, and behind me, that thing with my face. Let me know if you want to keep hearing this, because I haven't even told you about the next job I got offered and what happened when I said no. After Marcus's death, I didn't open my laptop for days. Every time the screen lit up, I half expected to see my own reflection doing something it shouldn't, breathing when I wasn't, blinking a second late. The apartment felt alive with little electrical whispers, the hum of the fridge, the tick of the router, the faint crackle of my phone charging. All of it seemed to form words if I listened too long. The $3,500 was still in the envelope in my closet. I hadn't touched it, but I noticed the balls had started to curl at the edges like they'd been damp. When I counted them again, there were 3,600. One bill missing. I hadn't spent a cent. The world outside didn't look right anymore. At the McDonald's on Belmont, the self-order screen glitched when I tried to pay. The total changed by itself. $8.11, $8.12, $8.13, like it was ticking seconds instead of dollars. Then the screen flashed white, and I saw a photo of myself, sitting in that chair from the house, frame and all, buried in static. The cashier asked if I was okay. I told him it was just frozen. He said, "Funny, it didn't freeze for anyone else." That night, I unplugged my Wi-Fi router. I even turned my phone off. But around 2 a.m., every device in the room powered on at once. TV, laptop, even the microwave. The screens all showed the same thing. Job number 2, confirmed. Payment pending. Date, October 1st. Tomorrow. Location, your window. I slammed the laptop shut. When I looked toward the window, there was nothing. But in the reflection of the dark glass, the room behind me was empty. No furniture, no me. Just that chair again, sitting perfectly still. Sleep didn't happen that night. By morning, I convinced myself it was another deep web scare tactic. Maybe someone hacked me. Maybe Marcus had set it up before he died. Anything was better than the other explanation, that I'd already agreed to something outside of time. I tried going about a normal day. Starbucks on Clark, earphones in, pretending to edit old videos for my dead Twitch channel. I noticed everyone around me scrolling, swiping, watching clips. Every screen I could glimpse for half a second showed me, not clearly, just a silhouette at first, then shapes I recognized. My jacket, my hands, my phone case. Then the cafe lights flickered, and every screen went black except one. The drive-through monitor. It glowed white with text. "Don't make us knock." A woman behind me asked if I was okay because I'd gone pale. I left without answering. That evening, someone slid an envelope under my apartment door. Inside was a USB drive. I almost threw it away, but curiosity always wins. I opened it on a work laptop at the library downtown, somewhere public, somewhere bright. It contained hundreds of folders. Each folder was a timestamp. The next one was tomorrow's date. Inside were videos labeled frontdoor.mp4, living room_feed.mov, mirror_cam.mkv. They were black for the first few seconds, then faint motion. My apartment, me walking around, recorded from angles that didn't exist, corners of ceilings that had no cameras, I watched one clip where I entered the frame, looked straight at the lens, and said, "Stop watching." Then the file corrupted. Every librarian in that row turned to look at me the exact moment the screen glitched, like they'd heard it too. I shut the laptop and left, heart hammering. Back home, the envelope with the $3,500 was gone. In its place lay a new one. Same handwriting. "Thank you for completing shift 2. Payment has been delivered to your account." I didn't have a job. No company had my bank details. I checked anyway. The balance was $7,000 even. No deposit trail, no transaction history. Just the number sitting there, perfectly round. The next morning my phone rang from an unknown caller ID that looked like my own number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was 8 seconds of faint breathing, then my own voice whispering, "We have to finish this, or we start again." Reality started to leak around the edges after that. Random strangers seemed to recognize me. A kid at the bus stop asked, "Are you the man from the window?" A barista handed me a cup, already labeled with my full name, even though I'd given the order under Matt. The only time I felt safe was walking near heavy crowds where every noise overlapped. But then I began hearing static under people's voices, like every conversation carried the same hidden track beneath it, whispering the countdown, 39, 38, 37. When it reached 0, my apartment lights all flicked off. My phone lit up again. A live stream. No caption, no view account. Just me, sitting at my desk, watching the stream. Except the version on screen wasn't breathing in sync with me. It smiled when I didn't. It reached toward the camera and said quietly, "Shift 3 begins now." The feed cut. My actual webcam light stayed on. That night, I tried to leave town, packed everything into my car, headed south on I-55. For the first hour, it felt like I might actually escape. Then the GPS glitched, distance climbing instead of falling. The road signs repeated the same exit number over and over. Exit 294A, Paulina Street. No matter how far I drove, the skyline of Chicago stayed in my rearview mirror, frozen like a photograph. At 3 a.m., the car stereo turned on by itself. The same white noise buzz from the first house filled the cabin. Then, beneath the static, my own voice played, layered on top of itself, hundreds of times, whispering in perfect rhythm. "The world is a recording. The world is a recording. The world is a..." I swerved, slammed the brakes. When I looked around, I was parked back outside my apartment building. Engine still warm. The next morning, a maintenance guy knocked. Said the tenant in my unit before me had left a locked storage trunk in the basement. "Your name's on the tag," he said, handing me a key. I didn't argue. I just followed him down. The basement smelled like old wires and wet concrete. The trunk was there, heavy and rusted, stenciled with letters that looked military. Inside were 6 reel-to-reel tapes, labeled sequentially, Shift 0 through Shift 5. I borrowed an old projector from the maintenance room and played one. It showed a man, me again, younger, sitting in a lab surrounded by monitors. He spoke directly to the camera. "If you're watching this, the experiment succeeded. Time is a loop built on observation. Every watched moment becomes a cage. You volunteered for permanence." He leaned closer, smiling faintly. "There are no jobs, only recordings trying to finish themselves." The film burned white and snapped. I haven't left the apartment since. The mirrors are covered. The screens face the wall. Every night, at 1:44 a.m. sharp, The power flickers, and I hear movement just beyond the glass of the window. I don't look anymore. The laptop still turns itself on. Each time, a new folder appears on the desktop with tomorrow's date, filled with footage I haven't lived yet. In the latest one, labeled Final Shift, I'm sitting here typing these words. Behind me, through the dark reflection of the monitor, something moves closer. I don't turn to see it. The file ends exactly when I hit the final keystroke. If anyone finds this post, check the date on your device. If it says October 17th, 2025, it means you're already watching the replay. And somewhere in your own reflection, I'm still finishing my shift. It's been 7 days since the last shift. 7 days where time no longer feels linear. Days that don't stay where they're supposed to. I wake up to find things out of place. Milk in the oven, shoes in the freezer, whole hours shaved from my phone logs. My notes app is filled with lines I don't remember writing. Do not answer the door if it knocks 3 times. The mirror lies to you after 3 a.m. You've already left. Stop pretending you're still here. I've stopped using my phone altogether, but it doesn't matter. Notifications still come through. Blank ones. Every night at 1:44 a.m., the same timestamp, my screen lights up, even if it's off, even if the battery's dead. It glows with a white box and 2 words, Final Shift. A few days ago, I decided to destroy the USB from the last envelope. I took a hammer to it in the alley behind the building, crushed it into black plastic splinters, and tossed it in a sewer grate. I didn't even make it back to my apartment before my phone buzzed. A video message. The thumbnail. Me in the alley, from above. I played it. I shouldn't have. It was a 43-second clip of me smashing the USB. But something was off. The angle was high. Too high. As if the shot was taken from the air. But I never saw a drone. I never saw anything. And the scariest part, I wasn't alone in the video. Standing behind me in the shot, just at the edge of the frame, was a shape. No face, no features, just the shape of a man in the exact same posture I had during the mirror scene in the house. Head tilted, right hand twitching, like it was learning to mimic motion. No sound, no breathing, just stillness. At the end of the video, the figure turned toward the camera and pointed. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep any night after that. I left my apartment for a motel in Hyde Park, paid in cash. No ID room 306. It smelled like roach spray and old newspapers, but I didn't care. I barricaded the door with a chair, unplugged the TV, wrapped every mirror in bed sheets, and duct taped them shut. At 1:44 a.m., the hotel phone rang. Not my cell, the room phone, the landline that wasn't plugged in. I let it ring 12 times. It didn't stop. On the 13th, I answered. No voice, just silence, and that buzzing again. Same one from the house, from the tapes. Underneath it, faintly, someone breathing through their teeth. Then one sentence in my own voice. It's already been accepted. You're just waiting for the footage to catch up. The line clicked. In the morning, there was a knock at the door. 3 knocks. Slow. Even. I didn't answer. I held my breath for what felt like 10 minutes. Then a yellow envelope slid under the door with a whispering sound, like it wasn't paper moving, but something alive, writhing against the tile. When I picked it up, my fingers went cold. Inside was a DVD, handwritten on it in black marker, Proxy Room, do not watch alone. I waited till noon, took the disc to the library again. Same computer as last time. I plugged it in and braced myself. The screen went black, then a flicker. Footage began to play. I was in it, or someone who looked like me, sitting in a dimly lit room, a concrete bunker-looking place with a flickering light overhead. No windows, one metal door, one metal chair, one massive wall-mounted screen, and across from it, a second chair with someone else strapped down, someone shaking. The man in the other chair had a bag over his head. I watched myself, proxy me, walk over and remove the bag. Underneath was Marcus. His face was pale, frozen in shock, mouth taped shut, eyes red from crying. He tried to scream. Proxy me whispered something in his ear. He froze. On the wall-mounted screen behind them, a third video played, a live stream of me, sitting in the library, watching it all unfold. Then Proxy me turned and stared straight into the camera and mouthed the words, "This is how you learn to obey." I slammed the laptop shut so hard the librarian jumped. I walked out and never looked back. Back at the motel, things were worse. My door was unlocked, even though I'd bolted it. Inside, the sheets had been removed from every mirror. Each one reflected a different version of the room. One showed it abandoned and covered in mold. One showed it full of water, with something floating face down. One showed me sleeping, except I wasn't there. The TV turned on by itself. Static again. Then a message. You will choose who stays. Shift 4 begins at 1:44. Under it, 2 live video feeds. One was a kid I didn't recognize, maybe 16, scared out of his mind, pacing in what looked like a locked storage unit. He kept looking toward the corners, whispering, "Please don't let it choose me." The second feed was me, asleep, in my old bedroom back at my apartment, except I hadn't been there in days, and I don't sleep anymore. At the bottom of the screen, a countdown started. 00:05:00. I tried to turn the TV off. It wouldn't budge. I unplugged it. The screen stayed on. Then the message changed. Select proxy. 1 will be erased. A remote slid out from under the motel bed, like it had been waiting. I didn't touch it. The countdown hit 00:00:01, and both screens went black. The room went dark. In the static, something crawled out of the TV, but there was no sound, not even a hum, just a deep vibration in my chest, like my own heartbeat was slowing down to make room for something else. I passed out before I could see its face. When I woke up, it was morning. The mirrors were all clean again, nothing on the TV, everything back in place. But my bank account, now $10,500. I've been thinking about that phrase from the disc. Do not watch alone. It wasn't a warning, it was a requirement. Whatever they're doing, whatever these shifts are, they're not complete unless someone else sees it, witnesses it, validates it. Every shift is a performance. Every performance a ritual. I'm not a person anymore. I'm an audience. 2 nights ago, I found something outside my motel door. A cardboard box, no label. Inside were 2 things. A mask made of latex, shaped exactly like my face. Every freckle, every scar, except the smile was wrong. It curved up too far on one side. A new envelope. Inside, a photo. The photo showed a man, wearing the mask, sitting across from someone else in that same metal room. Someone young, bound crying. On the back of the photo, scribbled in my own handwriting, "Your shift is to teach them, just like I taught you. Tonight's the final shift." I can hear the static building again, through the outlets, in the sink drain, in the empty spaces between my thoughts. They want me to wear the mask. They want me to be the thing that greeted me in the mirror that first night, the version of me that whispered into my own ear and made the blood run. But what terrifies me most isn't becoming it. It's the idea that I already did, and this is all just the recording playing back. The motel clock said 1:42 a.m., 2 minutes. I didn't remember lying down, or turning off the lights, or peeling the sheets off the mirrors. But here I was, sitting on the edge of the bed, mask in my lap, staring at the door like it had been whispering to me. Outside, the sky was black in a way that felt digital, like the color hadn't finished loading. No wind, no street sounds, no bugs, just silence, so loud it made my ears ring. Then, 1:44 a.m., knock, 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 3 times. Not hard, not frantic, just expecting me. I didn't move, I didn't breathe, but my phone buzzed in my pocket. I hadn't touched that phone in days. No power, no SIM card. Still, the screen lit up. A new notification from you. Just one line of text. You are now ready to continue your own replacement. The door unlocked itself. It didn't swing open fast. It peeled back, slow, like something old and heavy had finally worn down the hinges of reality. The hallway outside looked wrong. Not like the motel. Not like anywhere. Too long, too clean, almost surgical. At the end of the hall, a door painted red with a keypad that lit up on its own. It already knew I was coming. The moment I stepped through that red door, everything changed. I wasn't in a motel anymore. I wasn't even in Chicago. I was in the proxy room. This time, it wasn't on a screen. It was real. Concrete walls, fluorescent lights that didn't flicker. They hummed like they were breathing in sync with something unseen. 2 chairs sat in the center of the room, just like in the footage. One empty, one occupied. It was a boy. Couldn't have been older than 15. Thin, pale, duct tape over his mouth, head twitching side to side like he was stuck in a loop. His eyes were already red from crying. On the floor, at my feet, was a new envelope. The final envelope. I picked it up. Inside, a Polaroid. Me, standing behind the kid, holding the mask. On the back, in thick, smudged marker. This is the job. He is you. Finish it. And underneath that, in smaller writing, different pen, thinner strokes. He will watch. You always do. I dropped the photo. I tried to speak, to say anything. I'm not doing this. Or, let him go. Or even just why me. But my mouth wouldn't open. My hands moved on their own. I put the mask on. It slid over my face too easily, like it had been made from my own skin. It was warm, like it had already been worn tonight. The moment the mask sealed against me, the walls changed. The room shifted, not like something new was built, but like we'd been dropped into a memory, playing back in perfect detail. I could feel it. This had already happened. The chair across from me was no longer occupied by the boy. It was me, younger, the same exact version I saw on the tapes, the one who walked into that first house on Paulina Street, the one who clicked accept without understanding what came next. He was strapped down, duct tape across his mouth, shaking, and now I was the masked figure standing over him, the teacher, the one meant to whisper the secret. I leaned forward, mouth dry, every nerve in my body screaming to stop. But my voice, the voice through the mask, was not mine anymore. It was older, deeper, calmer. It said, "You accepted this because you needed purpose. You wanted control. You were tired of waiting for your life to begin. So we gave you a loop. My younger self trembled. The room started vibrating, soft at first, like a plane descending too fast. There are no jobs. There's only the ritual. You watching yourself become what you fear most. I leaned in closer. We all become it eventually. Then the lights cut. Total black. Silence. And then, that same buzz. It built slow, like teeth grinding through bone. It filled the air, my lungs, my head, until the only thing I could feel was vibration. Then a sound, a click, like a VHS being inserted. The buzz stopped. I opened my eyes. I was in a chair, strapped down, in the proxy room. Across from me, someone else. Same hoodie, same twitching right hand, same latex mask I had worn moments ago, or years ago, or never. They leaned forward. They whispered something into my ear. I can't remember the words, but I felt the blood run down my neck before I even knew I was bleeding. They turned toward the screen behind me, and the wall lit up. A live stream began. It showed you. Yes, you. Reading this, staring into your screen, eyes wide, wondering if any of this is real, feeling that small itch at the back of your neck, like someone's watching from behind you. Because they are. Because this is part of it now. The ritual can't end without a witness. Someone has to complete the loop. Someone has to say yes. So here it is. Your envelope. Your invitation. Shift 6. Pending. Click to accept. You've already said yes.